So there was a content creator on here who claims to be a employment attorney, and I was going to stitch the video, but she has stitching turned off. I'm not going to give too many details about this person is. I'm sure you'll be able to find them. I don't want anybody to like start anything or anything. That's not what this point about. I'm just kind of making a counter to what that person said. And they said that just because you're in an at-will employment state, that doesn't mean you don't have rights, that kind of stuff. And look, here's the deal. Yes, we do have rights, but how are we supposed to use them? For example, the last job I held 3 years ago, I was essentially fired due to COVID, right? But an excuse was used to fire me. And I'm using this as the first point, even though I think the second point is going to be a little more important here. But how am I supposed to prove that? How? When the reason for terminating me was the same excuse given to a lot of other employees who are all terminated for the same reason, how am I supposed to prove it was COVID related? Can you explain that to me as an attorney who deals with this kind of stuff? I'd love to know, because I tried to reach out for resources and was essentially told that there was nothing I could do about it. Additionally, she makes the point and says that you don't have to give 2 weeks notice. That's great, but you're not going to be able to get much more employment if you don't. A lot of people have learned that harsh reality. Yes, legally they can't make you give 2 weeks notice, but we all know that if you don't, you're going to get blackballed. There was a job I had a while back where I got laid off and they framed it like I was fired, and then they were bad mouthing me to every other employee. It wasn't until I contacted someone that knew the owner and confronted them that it was found that they were bad mouthing me. And then suddenly I was able to get jobs. There are some serious issues with employment that I am glad that unemployment attorneys want to talk about and say, or not employment, but attorneys that work with this kind of thing want to talk about and say, oh, it's not that bad, you got rights, and you'll get blackballed. You will, and you won't work anywhere. I know for a fact the reason that I'm not getting work in this last 3 years is a combination of 2 things. One, the job market, and 2, the employer that I worked for is a large employer in this area, and they wield a hefty amount of power to be able to screw people over. And that's where I'm at. But I have no way to prove anything about what happened. I even tried to do things when they were violating law about COVID going on, and there wasn't much I could do because of how big the company was. And at the time, trying to get an attorney to represent me for that wouldn't have worked well anyway. What proof did I have? You know, that's the problem. Because a lot of it I couldn't do with video evidence. I wasn't able to get any photos. I think I got one video of people on premises when nobody was supposed to be making sales. And I did what I could to try to make sure that got to the proper place so it could be handled, and it never did. I think that at one point they got upset because maybe it did, and they got fined for it, but it didn't stop them. They still collected PPP loans. They still fired people while collecting PPP loans. Like, it's ridiculous. The whole thing is, so no, we don't have rights. When it comes to employment in states that are like, at-will employment states, we don't have rights. If we do, I need somebody to explain to me what the process is, because everything I've looked through and everybody I've talked to explains that, no, that's pretty much right. You have rights, but you can't really use them. So it's great that this person wants to say, yeah, you can do this, but in actual practice, I pay you a retainer fee and you do nothing for me. And at the end of the day, it's, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't help you. So your employer really has to screw up, and they have whole HR departments really that are designated not to screw up is what there is. I don't know how else it is we're supposed to function as employees when really we don't have any of those rights. So what are your thoughts on this? Does anybody have any stories or any comments they want to leave about this? Maybe you had a bad COVID experience. Did you try to reach out to an attorney for help, and did it go anywhere? Did it do anything? Or are you in the same boat I am? It really is dismaying to hear attorneys talk like they can help and there's nothing they can do, and it's just like advertising for themselves. So if you can find that video, go listen to what she has to say. Again, I would have stitched it and would be saying this directly to that person, since I'm not going to say their name out here. I'm not trying to out them. I'm just kind of upset by the things they're saying because they're just not accurate. No, I'm not a lawyer, but having been through stuff before and realizing at the end of the day you're just told, sorry, there's nothing we can do for you, is really dismaying. So it is just upsetting. But anyway, guys.